Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome, everybody. We're here at the Michigan Golf Course Association Annual Fall Meeting and Conference, and my name is Doug Bell, the PGA Director of Golf at Manistee National Golf and Resort, and I have the privilege to interview today retired Navy SEAL Darren McBurnett, who was our featured keynote speaker this morning to start off the conference. First of all, Darren, thank you so much for your service and for spending an hour of your time with us today and telling us about your story. So I hope you enjoyed your short trip into Michigan so far.
It was great. I mean, I love doing things like this. Like I said, it's just I got no problem. Especially Dan Rooney gives me a call. It's like, hey, can you do this? Or, we work together well. So I like I said, I love doing things like this. I love it. So to me, the pleasure's all mine. Trust me.
Well, we a year ago in November, I had the pleasure to hear your story down in Dallas at a Folds of Honor gala that the Dallas chapter put together, and it was a pleasure meeting you then. I've had a pleasure to shake your hand out in Tulsa at an event with Folds, and my stepdaughter Hannah Davis, who speaks for Folds, I think has done a few different events with you around the country, and you've got to know each other. So, again, what you're doing to broadcast the message for Folds of Honor and to speak about your great service and all the folks that won't speak is amazing. So maybe if we could start by you ended your presentation to us today mentioning why you're doing what you're doing for Folds, but for the sake of the video, could you possibly explain how you met Major Rooney? What was your first exposure to Folds, and what led us to today?
Oh, absolutely. Folds. It's very interesting how that happened. It really was. I said my best friend is Rob O'Neill. He's the operator that killed Bin Laden. And when he got out, they say we've been friends for over 20 years. We went through SEAL training together, did a bunch of platoons together back in the day in the East Coast. We've always kept in touch. And then when he got out of the military, he started doing speaking and things like that. And so, he just called me up and said, hey, I'm going to go. This is what he says funny. He goes, hey, I'm going to head out to, I don't know the name of this place, in Oklahoma. But he's like, hey, my buddy Kid Rock's coming, so we're just going to party with him. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, that sounds fun. So, we show up, we get picked up, and we end up on the Patriot golf course, and we're in the first cabin. I get there early, and I just hang out, and then there's people in the cabin making it all right, and everyone's asking me what I need, and I'm not used to that. I'm like, nothing. There's water. I'm good. There's some popcorn over there, but that the people that were taking care of the cabin was Melissa Lehman and her son. So it's Tom Lehman's wife. And so I didn't know who he was then, but now I do. So it makes the story cooler. And so and then there's a barbecue that night at Dan Rooney's house, and I'm like, okay. And so they come over and get me in a golf cart. I'm like, where does this guy live? Because the golf course is beautiful. I'm like, man, this is really cool. And I zip over to his house, and the board members and people are over there and having a barbecue, and I meet him and introduce myself, and then we get to talking, and that's pretty much all it took. And that was it. I was like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. So to me, and plus all the guys that we lost, it made perfect sense. He was like that what Dan would like to call that moment of synchronicity is, to me, is that what I like to call is that my life aperture just opened up a little bit wider to understand what people are actually doing, and so when you're in the service, you don't really see a lot, but when you're out and you actually meet people that are doing things, it's like, wow, there really are Americans and Patriots out there doing things. And I was like, well, I want to do that too.
Would you say that, given all of I'm sure you've been asked to speak, or you probably contribute, there's so many veterans organizations out there, and like I said, you've probably seen more than we'll be blessed to ever see or be able to help with. But is there a difference with either the folks behind the Folds of Honor mission or with the folks that you've met around the country that sets them apart possibly from some of the other groups? Not that anybody is doing anything bad. I'm just asking, is there any one thing that you feel stands out?
It's the people. It's not that, like I said, none of the other organizations are doing bad things or in that nature. It's the people that I met with Folds, and they're genuine. And that, to me, it's like, even when first time I met Dan and I met the board members, and no one in my mind was out to kind of peacock, I guess, just say, hey, look what we're doing. They're down to earth people. And then you realize what they do in life. It's like, wow, you really cool what you do, but when they all got together, it's just, they're great Americans, great people. And that's what's in everyone I met in Folds. There's not one person that I don't dislike. It's like everyone's just really genuine, and that's the thing that stands out the most to me with Folds of Honor is the people.
Well, I appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, I have a unique tie to Folds with having helped raise two scholarship recipients, my stepchildren, Blake and Hannah Davis, whose father was lost in 1998 in the military. And I've been blessed to be part of their family. And my exposure, as I've moved around the country and listened to Hannah speak a few times, is having met folks like you, other military members that I would have never had the opportunity to meet, hear their story, and the other scholarship recipients, and learn about their parents or their spouses that have paid the ultimate price for our country. And it's truly a blessing to see this, to steal a word, army of volunteers out there doing everything they can to help make these young children and spouses better educationally, or giving them the opportunity to be better in any way that they want to. Full circle back to Michigan, where you mentioned Tulsa. That's currently the home of the Folds of Honor, is Tulsa, Oklahoma. Broken Arrow is where Dan started above his garage, but there was some inspiration here in Grand Haven, Michigan, where it all began. And so the Michigan Folds has a nice tie to Michigan, and you put it on the screen today. Patriot Golf Day is the big effort by the Folds golf-wise. So we're at a golf seminar. Money is raised by Folds of Honor all over the country in many different ways, but the Patriot Golf Day is its main fundraiser, the largest one they do golf-related. And it was nice that you put on the screen there, and I saw a lot of golf course owners and some individuals today taking pictures of how to make it happen. So you've probably seen some events all over the country. Maybe, is there any that stand out to you, some Patriot events that you might have spoke at?
Oh, wow, that's a way to lay it on there. Well, let's start that I need to come to Michigan and do an event. Let's do that. That's what I need to do. So, yes, definitely come up. But I have some that stood up. But believe it or not, I really haven't done a lot of them. But it doesn't matter how big the venue is or how small the venue is. Everywhere I go, people are genuine, and they genuinely want to help. And then that's the biggest takeaway that I can actually tell you about actually doing events, whether it's in Springfield, Illinois, or it's in Dayton, or it's in Owasso with the Patriot, or it's in Colorado, or it's just in some small town, where I go to. It doesn't matter. It's the people that are running it. They generally want to make a difference, and the people that show up want to make a difference. And that, to me, is the most enjoyable part.
Well, that's a great point, because so many of us, myself included, started by putting a fundraising dish on the counter, and maybe raised $200 or $300, and through some efforts and energy and getting some members involved, we've been able to raise more money. But whether you raise $500, you're able to raise a scholarship of $5,000, or some events, holy moly, they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. It all goes to the same effort and cause, and nobody should be ashamed if all they can raise is $300. That's an incredible $300.
Absolutely with that. And remember, to me, it's that person that's raising, where that person raises $2 million or that person raises like $2. It's that person that wants to make that effort to do so, and that's the difference. And so, to me, it's every person that's in that, like you said, that big army of wanting to make it happen and make a difference, and it's everybody.
Well, I saw today after the event, you signing a flag that was auctioned off last night. So your contributions go beyond speaking. You want to tell us a little bit about, you have a specific picture that you've been able to raffle off around the country at different events. I saw it in Dallas last year. You want to tell us a little bit about that photograph?
It's American eagle that I photographed in Alaska. It's a lot of fun. It was an accidental photograph of an eagle. Eagles, they just don't fly next to you unless you're one of those eagle handlers that shows up at football games. But out in the wild, I think because they probably just wanted to eat me. But he was right there and did a couple shots of it, and then he said probably about a year and a half later, I revisited that photo, I edited it, and wanted to do more what I have been doing for Folds. And it wasn't really a lot back then, but I was going to at least a couple events a year and speaking to Dan, and thinking what I can do. And then I introduced my American Eagle that I photographed, and to this day it's raised well over $600,000, which is unbelievable to me. And then the other photography that I've done, it's getting up there, and now it's but for me, it's something that I can do, because I'm always looking for things that I can do. Because for me, like I said, I'm not a TV personality, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not a politician. But I'm not good looking or a thing. I'm just a father, and an American and a patriot. And it's like I want to make a difference on how I can do it, and what things that I can do, because I don't concentrate what I can't do, I concentrate what I can do. And that's what more people need to start doing, is like, what can I do with what I have? And so what I have is like photography, and then next thing you know, it's like, cool, now I'm making a bigger difference than I wanted to with what I got.
And I believe probably by the magic of television, there might be a link to some of these pictures on this interview that folks will be able to go and see your work and see some of your contributions. During your talk, you mentioned that you take some pictures from the air. Do you want to describe, now, as I was researching last night a little bit about your time in the service, did you stumble upon the skydiving? Or free fall diving? You know the better technical name for it. Or did you just really enjoy that, and that became something you were good at and you pursued after your service?
It's something else that it's the way I can really narrow it down to what it is. In the SEAL teams, you get qualified in a lot of things. Military free fall is one of them. Range safety officers, another one. Rigger, packing parachutes, another. Communications, breacher, sniper. All those are just schools and quals. And to maintain, as you get them SEAL, you want more of those quals to make you more proficient. At what you do, like I said, make you more of an asset. And it's professional development. And one of mine was I made it through free fall school, but I made it through the dreaded at the time military free fall jump master school, and that's all run by the Army out in Yuma, Arizona. And I passed that, but also it was my time to go do a shore duty rotation. So after 10 years at sea, it's supposed to be like a 2 and 5. It was 10. It was time to do something, and because I graduated that school, not a lot of SEALs graduated that school at that time as military free fall. I ended up as a instructor out there. So moved out to Yuma, Arizona, and I wasn't a fan of skydiving. It's like, I really don't like heights. It's not that I don't like heights, I just don't like falling from them. So and when I got out there, we did advanced military free fall and made it through that, and somehow I had a definitive penchant for getting really good at skydiving quickly. And I don't know why that is, because some people are naturally good at stuff, and not saying I was naturally this awesome. I worked at it, but it didn't come very hard for me. And then when I was out there, you have to be an instructor for about a year on the floor. And then what I always noticed in the morning was when you got that morning jump, it's 5:15 in the morning, and the sun's rising in Arizona, and it's beautiful. It's like a blood red vermilion color, and it's just awesome. And to me, it's like I was always like, someone should take a picture of this. And so I decided to research photography, and by that time I was skilled enough. I was already shooting video, but I just added a camera to my head, and that was a lot of studying, a lot of figuring it out, and screwing a camera onto my head and make sure it all onto my helmet anyway, and make sure it worked. And I just went from there.
What's the highest you've jumped from?
I think 22,000 at one time. I don't really remember, but it was really high. I just remember that I put 2 pieces of tape on my altimeter because it only goes to like 15,000. So if it goes around, then that's 15,000. So you got to take off that piece of tape. And so the next time it goes around, you better be pulling. So that's what I remember.
That's fantastic. Well, again, we thank you for coming in and visiting us here in Michigan, telling your story, and I'm sure that's just it's not even a scratch of the surface what we were able to sit through in an hour. But your service to our country, your service after your service, to all your fellow comrades and all of the individuals that to service all over the country, we can't thank you enough. And to take time out of your schedule and your day to come here and spend a little bit of time with us, we appreciate it, and we hope we see you again in Michigan, maybe when it's a little bit warmer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love coming up here. I mean, now that I've been with all you guys, maybe I can get some golfing up here. So hopefully it's like I said before, the golf game is just a weird game. But it comes and goes. But I'd love to be up here.
I would imagine you can hit it pretty far, and I'm sure it's going to get better. Major Rooney will take care of you.
It's hitting it far, which is awesome, but it's the straight thing that I really need to concentrate on.
Darren, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.